Hi Hammers fans, quick reminder, drop a like, hit subscribe, and leave your comment below. That way you'll always be the first to catch every update about West Ham United. West Ham fans, you know very well that football isn't just about the weekend match. It's about timing opportunity, and above all, strategic decisions that can change a club's future. And today I want to talk to you about a situation that's gaining momentum behind the scenes, and could have a huge impact on our attack, the possible arrival of Joshua Zirkzee. Yes, that striker from Manchester United, that many have heard of but few have actually seen play. And do you know why? Because he simply isn't getting minutes on the pitch. While names like Jared Bowen, Malik Diouf, and Lucas Paqueta are out there playing and shining for their national teams, remaining indispensable for their countries, Zirkzee is stuck on the bench. And that, my friend, in a pre-World Cup year is practically a sentence of invisibility. Just imagine even Freddie Potts, a young lad from our academy, has played more Premier League minutes this season than Zirkzee. That says a lot. Last season, his main competitor was Rasmus Højlund, who's not exactly the most mobile striker himself. But now things have got even worse. Benjamin Sesko, a rising star, and Matheus Cunha, who's extremely versatile, have joined the battle for that position. The result? Zirkzee has fallen even further down Ruben Amorim's pecking order. The lad has practically vanished. So what does a young, ambitious, and talented player do when he realizes he's being left behind? He looks for a way out. And that's where West Ham come into the picture. According to information from within the club, there's a real chance that Zirkzee could swap Old Trafford for the London Stadium in the January window. And it's not about vanity, it's about survival. Because if there's one thing we must remember, it's that players want to go to the World Cup. And we're not talking about just any player here. This is a striker who was once seen as one of the brightest Dutch prospects. But a prospect without playing time quickly turns into a forgotten name. And Ronald Koeman made that painfully clear in his latest statements. The Dutch national team coach has simply left Zirkzee out of the October fixtures, and what's most striking is how direct he was about it. He said that Zirkzee and Brian Brobby from Sunderland are not currently in his plans. I don't think they're playing, was what Koeman said. He added, if they start getting more minutes, there'll still be options. But we're also looking beyond that. In other words, if you're not playing, forget it. The door's closed, for now. And that must have sounded like a huge alarm bell in Zirkzee's head, and rightly so. After all, the striker has already spoken with Manchester United's directors. He knows that if nothing changes, he won't even smell the World Cup. And to make matters worse, just look at the competition he's up against for a national team spot. Wout Weghorst, who led the attack against Malta. Memphis Depay, the team's top scorer, coming off the bench and scoring Daniel Malen, who's in excellent form, and even youngsters like Mex Meerdink from AZ Alkmaar appearing on the radar. In short, Zirkzee is falling behind on all fronts, club, country, and visibility. And when a player like that feels forgotten, he looks for somewhere he can play, get noticed, and prove he's still got it. And let's be honest, which Premier League club has a record of reviving careers and turning players into stars? Exactly, West Ham. And that's why this possible move makes so much sense. And notice, this isn't just some loose rumor. There's solid information. According to journalist Graham Bailey, Zirkzee has already made it clear to United that if he wants to go to the World Cup, he needs to leave. And that this decision will be acted upon even before the January window opens. It's not a maybe, it's not a we'll see, it's I need to move. And that changes everything. And between us, of course, West Ham are watching. The club knows that to take the next step, we need a center forward who fits in with Bowen, and possibly Somerville if he joins too. And Zirkzee has exactly the kind of style that suits that attacking trio. He can drop deep, hold up the ball, and drag defenders away to create space for the wingers. We've seen that when he played alongside Marcus Rashford and Amad Diallo in United's big win over Everton. In that match, he was described as the best in the world at linking up play and moving off the ball. In short, he's the kind of striker that makes the system tick. But despite all that potential, if he stays where he is, nothing will happen. And that's why for him, the Premier League remains the best stage. And within the Premier League, West Ham is the club that best balances ambition, exposure, and actual playing time. Here he could play shine, put himself back on the map, and maybe even book his ticket to the World Cup. Now, the real question is, will United let him go? Will West Ham manage to seal the deal? And is he really the right striker for us? Because it's not enough to just say, let's bring him in. We have to be sure he truly delivers what the team needs. And honestly, looking at the situation, it makes a lot of sense to take that risk. And more than that, this move isn't just about one player. It's about the club's mindset. It's about showing that we're alert, that we want to evolve, and that we can take advantage of opportunities others are wasting. And I'll say this: when the coach of a country like the Netherlands publicly says you're not in his plans because you're not playing, he's practically pushing you out of your club. And if Zirkzee really decides to leave, he'll look for a place where he can start over. And there's no better place for that than a club that knows how to revive careers and has a passionate fan base like ours. And here, fellow fan, I want to hear from you. Do you think Zirkzee could be that guy, the one to transform West Ham's attack? Or will he just be another name that arrives with hype and doesn't deliver? I've got my opinion, but I'll hold on to it for the next part, because there's still a lot more to this story. Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the Claret and Blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. Now that we understand Joshua Zirkzee's situation at Manchester United and the impact of Ronald Koeman's words, we need to take a closer look at what this means for West Ham. Because this isn't just about a frustrated player looking for minutes, it's a strategic opportunity arriving at the perfect time for the club. According to information coming from within West Ham, especially from people closely connected to the club's inner workings, the possibility of Zirkzee coming to the London Stadium in the January window is real. We're not talking about empty rumors here. We're talking about conversations, movement, and a clear desire from the player himself. He wants to play, he wants to be seen, he wants to go to the World Cup. And he knows that the way things are now, that's not going to happen. And look how this situation stands apart from so many others. This isn't a lazy player asking to leave. It's a young man with ambition, hungry to be a protagonist, who sees his career stalling and realizes he needs to take a bold step. And let's be honest, players with that mindset usually thrive at clubs like West Ham, where the fans value effort, commitment, and personality. But why would West Ham be the ideal destination for him? Firstly, because here he'd have something he doesn't have at United: space. West Ham's squad, though talented, still lacks a center forward who combines technical ability and tactical intelligence with mobility. We have players who finish well like Bowen, but Bowen is deadliest cutting in from the wings or attacking open space. Zirkzee, on the other hand, knows how to drop deep, hold up the ball, draw defenders, and open up channels. That kind of striker is gold for fast wingers. And notice what the report highlights: there's even the idea of a trio featuring Zirkzee, Jared Bowen, and Crescencio Somerville. Just picturing those three together gives you a buzz, doesn't it? It wouldn't be a traditional physical front line with a fixed target man. It would be a trio built on movement, pace, intelligence, and fluid positioning, modern football at its best. And it's not just me saying this. Zirkzee himself has already been described as the best in the world at playing exactly that role, dropping deep, linking up play, and freeing the wingers to attack the space. He did it alongside Marcus Rashford and Amad Diallo when United thrashed Everton 4-0. That day he showed his strengths game, reading intelligence, and the ability to create chances for teammates. Now think about it. How many times has West Ham struggled because there was no one to bridge the gap between midfield and attack? How many times have we relied on long balls or hopeful passes because we lacked a forward to hold the play up? Paquetá is brilliant, but he can't do everything on his own. If we had someone like Zirkzee to connect the play, Bowen's output could go up even further. And if Somerville really arrives, then we'd have a dynamic, unpredictable, and much harder to mark attack. But let's go beyond tactics. Let's talk about attitude. Let's talk about hunger. Zirkzee wants to go to the World Cup. He wants to show the world that he's not just another forgotten name on United's bench. He wants to prove himself. And players with that kind of drive often deliver more than expected, because they play with urgency, with hunger, with the desire to make a statement. And what's most interesting is that the Dutch national team itself is indirectly pushing for this move. When Koeman says they're not playing, he's basically saying if they want to be called up, they need to move. And Zirkzee got the message. That opens a rare window for West Ham, because usually it's very hard to pry a young talent away from a giant like Manchester United. But now the situation's different. United might even agree to sell, knowing that keeping him on the bench only lowers his value. And if West Ham acts smartly, this could be one of those deals that changes the season. And it's not just West Ham watching this situation. Other clubs, and even national teams, are following the same logic. Players who aren't getting minutes won't go to the World Cup. That's why the January window will be hectic, with clubs looking to seize opportunities like this. The big question is, will West Ham move fast and get this done before the others? And here's an interesting point. Reporter Graham Bailey confirmed that Zirkzee has already spoken with United and made it clear he needs playing time. In other words, he's already preparing his exit. This is no longer a maybe. It's practically a career strategy. The player's saying, I need to play, so let's find a solution. And according to Bailey, the move should be sorted before January, meaning talks might start even before the window officially opens. And this is where something very important comes in. We need to act with conviction, because this kind of opportunity doesn't come around often. Zirkzee has talent, age, ambition, and he's at a stage in his career where he needs a stage. And West Ham can offer that stage. But of course, there's always the other side of the coin. We need to be realistic. Can he handle the pressure of the Premier League if he becomes a starter? Can he be consistent? Is he really the real deal or just another promising talent who might not deliver? Those are fair questions. On the other hand, how many players have come to West Ham written off and ended up becoming key figures? How many have grown wearing the claret and blue? How many have been reborn here? History shows that West Ham is the ideal club for players who need a second chance, because here they find support space and a fan base that appreciates effort and heart. And let's be honest, seeing Zirkzee, Bowen, and maybe Somerville together would be something new for us. It would be an attack full of movement, creativity, and intelligence. It would be a new offensive identity. And if there's one thing we older fans know, it's that modern football demands exactly that. An attack that moves, that's unpredictable, that makes the opposition suffer. And speaking of that, in the next part, I want to talk about something very important. There are alternatives beyond Zirkzee. There are other names on the table like Endrick and Chris Wood, each with a completely different profile. And understanding these options helps reveal what West Ham are really aiming for in this next phase. Because one thing is becoming very clear, the club wants to move forward. And the big question now is, will it be with youth and potential, or with experience and stability? Before we carry on, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. This is really important because it strengthens the claret and blue family, making our West Ham bigger and stronger every day. Now that we understand why Joshua Zirkzee could be such a great opportunity for West Ham, we need to look a bit deeper at what this move actually says about the club's mentality. Because when we talk about signings, it's not just about who comes in, but about what the club is trying to build. And this is where things get even more interesting, because Zirkzee isn't the only name on the radar. According to behind-the-scenes reports, West Ham are looking at several different profiles, and that shows the club isn't just reacting to the market, it's planning ahead. One of the names mentioned is simply one of the biggest young talents in world football, Endrick from Real Madrid. Yes, the young Brazilian who's been compared to historic prodigies, who arrived in Spain as a star, but who so far hasn't managed to earn consistent minutes under Xabi Alonso. And that's exactly where the opportunity lies. Graham Bailey has said that West Ham have already tried to sign Endrick more than once. In fact, the club were reportedly at the front of the queue last January, in case he became available on loan. They even asked Real Madrid about the possibility when he first arrived. And the most surprising part, Endrick was open to it. So if he was willing back then, why not now, especially since he still hasn't nailed down a place? Of course he wants to shine at Real Madrid. That's obvious. It's every player's dream. But if time passes and he still doesn't get chances, the conversation changes. Players want to play. Players want to go to the World Cup. And once again, that tournament is the big motivator behind so many of these decisions. If Endrick realizes he needs minutes to stay visible, West Ham could be a very clever destination. A strong league, a competitive team, and a space where he could show his talent right away. Now just imagine it for a second, an attack with Bowen, Paqueta, maybe Somerville and Endrick. That would be a mix of creativity, pace, and unpredictability. But Endrick is only one possibility, the bold, forward-looking type of signing that screams ambition. On the other side, there's a completely different option, Chris Wood from Nottingham Forest. An experienced physical striker, strong, brilliant in the air, and someone who knows the Premier League inside out. And here's more, Nuno Espirito Santo has already got the best out of him. Under Nuno, Chris Wood scored 20 goals in a single season. 20. That proves there's chemistry between them. Nuno knows exactly how to use that kind of player, where to position him, and how to build play around his strengths. So while Zirkzee and Endrick represent youth skill and potential growth, Chris Wood stands for experience, physical presence, and tactical reliability. 3 totally different profiles, but all of them make sense depending on what West Ham want to be in the short term. And that brings us to a really important question. What kind of club does West Ham want to be? If the plan is to build for the future, with smart players, modern movement, and the ability to adapt to different systems, then Zirkzee and at another level, Endrick are perfect choices. They represent evolution, a dynamic attacking style mobility, players who make the team play differently. But if the goal is immediate stability and security, someone who can handle big match pressure, win aerial duels, and keep defenders busy, then Chris Wood is the man. And with one important detail, Nuno knows exactly how to get the best from him. It wouldn't be a random signing. It's someone who's already worked well with this manager. And that's what's most impressive in all of this. All three options make sense in their own way. Zirkzee is the golden opportunity to revive a forgotten talent and shape him in the right system. Endrick is the ambitious bet that could turn our attack into a nightmare for any Premier League defense. Chris Wood is the immediate fix for structure, strength, and guaranteed goals in Nuno's style. But in the end, it all comes back to one word that's defined West Ham for decades: identity. And here I want to speak directly to you, the older fans who've seen this club go through highs and lows. You know that West Ham have never just been about results. They've always been about personality, spirit, and players who mean more than just stats. And looking at the current picture, I feel like we're at a turning point, a moment to decide whether we just want to compete or whether we want to build something bigger. Zirkzee could be the symbol of a modern attacking rebuild. Endrick could be the sign that West Ham are thinking big, thinking about the future and international recognition. Chris Wood could be the guarantee that we'll stay competitive, built on strength and discipline, qualities Nuno values deeply. But you know what really matters? It's not just who arrives, it's how these pieces fit together. Whether we'll have a plan, whether we'll give it time to work, because signing players for the sake of it means nothing. Signing with vision, strategy, and purpose, that changes everything. And I'll be honest, seeing West Ham mentioned in talks with players of this caliber shows that the club is being respected. That wouldn't have happened a few years ago. Today, the club is seen as a real platform for growth, exposure, and development. That's the result of hard work, consistency, and ambition. Now, fellow fan, I want to hear from you. Which path should we take? Invest in young talent looking for space. Bet on prodigies who could explode? Or bring in an experienced striker who delivers from day one? There's no right or wrong answer, only what makes the most sense for the project. In my view, West Ham are standing at a huge opportunity. And if they choose wisely, the club could take a leap in quality that fans have been waiting for a long time. Maybe Zirkzee will be the start of that new cycle. Maybe he'll be the first step in something bigger. Time will tell. But one thing's for sure, January's going to be big, and West Ham are preparing to move. And when this club moves with conviction, big things happen.